Hi, join me for a few moments as we look through these books and more. Oops, get it the right way around. That would help more, wouldn't it? Hello and welcome to my sitting room floor. You're coming from a different angle today because I just felt like I've had a lovely chilled day. I've been on a lovely bicycle ride again this morning, and I sat down to read, and then I thought, I haven't done anything on books for a while on my channel. So today I'm going to be looking at some books. Sorry about the movement there of the camera. I'm going to be looking at some books that are involving tarot and books that aren't. So we've got an eclectic sort of collection here today. And I will start with a non-tarot book first. This is something because I peruse the second-hand book sites and what have you. And I, as you all know, I have quite an eclectic approach when it comes to, or taste when it comes to my reading materials. I like crime stories, I like thrillers, I like horrors, as I have mentioned in previous video on books. But I sometimes like something different too. So what have I been reading? Lately I've been stuck to my Kindle. I have been reading books by an author who is writing a series of haunted books on haunted places. Basically, this is a group of women who have formed a group that they call psychic cleansings, I think it's called, and they go into homes and businesses and rid the place of any residuals or lingering spirits that might be found there. And this collection of stories is all about those adventures that they get on. I'm just going to see if I can get back to my oops, I'm going to have to find my page because I've just pressed, I don't know, loads of things. I'm going to head home here and give you the name. The author of the books that I'm reading is Shani Struthers, Shani Struthers, Struthers. And the book that I'm reading by her at the moment is from her Psychic Survey books, and it's The Old Cross Cottage is what I'm reading. I've read 44 Gilmore Street and a couple of others, but the one that I'm reading now, Old Cross Cottage, is very good, and it's very much light reading. It's certainly not highbrow, but it is something that just takes your mind out of any humdrum. You don't have to think. It's there, you can read, and you can just enjoy at your leisure, you know. So that's what I'm currently reading on my Kindle. Now, I did purchase a couple of other books. First of all, this one is one that was given to me by a neighbour just down the road here, and it's about the Scissor Sisters, and this is a true crime story about three women, well, it was particularly two young girls and their mother, who had committed a murder of a man called Farah Noor, and this is their story, okay? It's written by Mick McCaffrey, and I'll read the blurb on the back. If you're into crime stories, true crime stories, this is one that happened in 2005 here in Dublin, and it was a hell of a shock to the entire nation. But we looked at 2005, that's 16 years ago. Feels like it was only yesterday that this occurred. I can remember it like it was yesterday. So let's have a look and see what this is about. Everyone was just arguing. My mum kept saying to me and Linda, just please kill him for me, kill him for me. Then she got the hammer and the knife and she gave them to me and Linda, but he wouldn't let Linda go and I cut him. That was a quote taken from one of the three women involved. On March the 20th, 2005, Charlotte Mulhall slashed a 4-inch gash in Farah Swaleh Noor's throat. She cut her mother's lover again and again with a razor-sharp blade, while her sister Linda hit him about 10 times with a hammer. They then spent hours hacking his body into 8 pieces before dumping his butchered remains in the Royal Canal in Dublin. Christened the Scissor Sisters by the media, their names are now synonymous with violence and brutality. But what really happened that night? What part did Kathleen, their mam, play, and where is she now? Did John, their tragic father, help to dismember Farah's remains? And what about the victim? Why did Farah carry knives and like to burn himself? Using witness statements and the Mulhall's own words, McCaffrey reconstructs the horrific murder in graphic detail, investigating the motives of all the people involved. He gets inside the minds of the women who carry out this unspeakable crime and depicts the intensive Garda hunt that led to the conviction of 2 of the most notorious killers in Ireland's history. The Irish Scissor Sisters examines the appalling crime that sent shockwaves through Irish society. It is the definitive account of a sickening murder that should never be forgotten. And this is written by Mick McCaffrey, who is part of the Sunday Tribune. Okay, just take the price stick off here and I'll be able to tell you more about Mick McCaffrey. I hate it when they put price stickers over information on the back of a book. So Mick McCaffrey joined the Sunday Tribune as security editor in February of 2007. Before that, he'd spent 3 years as crime and deputy news editor at the Evening Herald. This is his first book. So I'm actually looking forward to getting stuck into that. Because I've been so busy with the Kindle, I haven't really read too much of anything of that at the moment. But it should prove to be a very good read. Another book I purchased this last week is Laura Shepherd Robinson's The Daughters of the Night. In the Wrong Hands, A Secret is a Weapon. And this is right up there with the best of C.J. Sansom and Andrew Taylor. Amanda Craig, author of The Lie of the Land, has given that review. So what is this about? Okay, so let's have a read of the blurb on the back of this. Lucia's fingers found her own. She gazed at Caro as if from a distance her lips parted, her words a whisper. He knows. This is based in London in 1782. Desperate for her politician husband to return home from France, Caroline, or Caro Corsam, is already in a state of anxiety when she finds a well-dressed woman mortally wounded in the bowers of the Vauxhall Pleasure Gardens. The Bow Street constables are swift to act until they discover that the deceased woman was a highly paid prostitute, at which point they cease to care entirely. But Caro has motives of her own for wanting to see justice done, and so sets out to solve the crime herself, enlisting the help of thief-taker Peregrine Child. Their inquiry delves into the hidden corners of Georgian society, a world of artifice, deception, and secret lives. But with many gentlemen refusing to speak about their dealings with the dead woman, and Caro's own reputation under threat, finding the killer will be harder and more treacherous than she could know. And so this is from the brothels and gin shops of Covent Garden to the elegant townhouses of Mayfair. Laura Shepherd Robinson's Daughters of the Night follow Caroline Corsam as she seeks justice for a murdered woman for whom London society would rather forget. So that looks like it's going to be really, really interesting and entertaining. And the print is a nice size. Okay, it's not a print where you would need a magnifying glass to help you look at words. I'm going to skip this next one we've got in a minute and come back to it. In the meantime, I'm going to just go on to something that's tarot based. This arrived in the post day before yesterday. Where are we today? Friday. So this arrived Wednesday. And this is Tom Benjamin's new book, Your Tarot Toolkit. Now, Your Tarot Toolkit is actually a lovely book because I have actually been paging through it as well as getting on with the exercises. What I like about Tom Benjamin's books on tarot is that he not only talks to you as though he's in the room, you can actually envisage him speaking to you as you're reading this. And his work is quirky, it's humorous. There are little sarcasms here and there that actually do make you laugh, and it is as though a conversation is flowing. Tom's other book, Tarot on Earth, is one that I worked through diligently, and it was a book that I decided to work with simply because I wasn't familiar with Marseille, and working with that book, working with a deck, the Marshmallow Marseille, I've actually come to really enjoy reading Marseille tarot cards. And this now is based on RWS. And what I like about all his books are based from anyone from the beginner to intermediate to someone who's been reading for generations, because everything brings something new to the table. You know, in here, we have activities in here that I wouldn't have done years ago, and I'm sure many others wouldn't. And what we're doing at the moment, I'm at the first section. I've gone through all these couple of chapters here, and it's really full of good information. And now it's sort of straight away looking at a card and interpreting it, sort of answering questions from a card. So you'll set a question, there's the interpretation that the reader has made for a querent, and then you have to say, does that interpretation match the card, match the question? If it does, why? If it doesn't, why? And you fill it in the book as you go along. And this is what I like. You get to do so many of these activities that by the time you're finished this book, you're actually, you know, you have a lot more skills and different ways of analysing cards than you had before you started. Like I say, I've been reading cards for years, and Tom Benjamin, I have found by following both his videos and having access to both his books, that I have found that they just shed a little light here and there. It might be something that has been sat in front of us all those years, and we think, why didn't I think of that? You know, because there's so many activities in here that make card reading even more interesting. You know, and so would I recommend this book? This is Your Tarot Toolkit by Tom Benjamin, definitely. And I'm sticking with one deck whilst I'm working through this, and for this one I'm using the Bright Future Tarot. This is my go-to deck at the moment, as many of you know. So this is what will be accompanying me every time I use this book. Anytime I'm travelling, until I'm finished it, these will accompany me everywhere. So that's my most recent acquisition when it comes to tarot and literature. Pop those there. Now, what's next on our literature list? We've looked at the Kindle. You're on the wrong side. We need to be over there. There's another book here that I thought would be really interesting. Now, if you're like me and you have a lot of hobbies or a lot of interests and you like to be crafty, particularly when it comes to paint, this is really nice. This is lovely soul colour. I ordered this from Liminal 11 when I ordered the colouring book. The Modern Witch colouring book, and it's that's a pre-order, so that I'm waiting for. But this is really, really nice. Now I'm going to read what it says. Soul Colour is a 10-week watercolour painting course to cultivate mindfulness and creativity, and it's by Emma Burleigh. So Soul Colour is a 10-week watercolour painting course to cultivate mindfulness and creativity. Develop confidence to paint more intuitively, give yourself permission to enjoy the unexpected and make mistakes. Deepen your meditation skills and discover a new sense of reflective calm. An art educator with over 20 years' experience, Emma Burleigh shares her knowledge through workshops and courses. Her speciality is mindful watercolour painting, teaching students how to enjoy watercolour painting as a contemplative practice for self-discovery. So I purchased this book because I do have a lot of hobbies. I am retired, so I do like to make sure that my days are filled. Obviously, with the pandemic, it's had to be filled here in the house because we haven't been able to go far other than my bike rides and what have you. But prior to the pandemic, for a few years, I've loved watercolour painting and painting with acrylics, and I also like using pastels. And you know, you can only do so much painting before you get a little bit fed up of it, and then you get fed up of doing the pastels. And my all my relaxing time has been put into tarot and literature lately, and I needed to go back to painting but couldn't find my mojo. So I saw this book advertised and I thought, you know, I'm actually going to give that a go. I haven't started it yet. Oh, I love the colours on the inside. I haven't actually started it yet because I want to make sure it's on a day where I know that I've got the day to myself and I'm not going to get disturbed. So we have a contents page, okay. This book is, oh, all right, that's the dedication. Sorry, I'm going to read through the dedication there. So let's have a look. Within the introduction, it then goes to, we got an introduction, then week 1, week 2, right the way through to week 10. Okay, so what is this book about? Soul Colour comes from my own personal journey with watercolour. It is a journey that involves ups and downs, twists and turns, times of exciting progress, and some very long stretches of creative block. I was stuck in a rut for much of my early adult life, and it wasn't until I turned to meditation as a stressed out school teacher in my mid-20s that I slowly rediscovered that feeling of freedom that drawing and painting had given to me as a child. Ironically, I'd been an art teacher for years, but had lost the capacity to create my own artworks. I could teach techniques easily enough, but I had lost touch with most of the soulful part of me that longed to express something deeper. It took many more years before I was able to begin painting from my own personal depth, but over the time meditation led me back here. Mindfulness and spiritual practice inevitably guided me to face my deepest longings and my buried fears, and I both fear and longed to paint. So this tells you what you will learn to do. You'll learn painting exercises that develop your capacity for mindfulness, self-care and self-insight. You'll develop your skills on watercolour and nurture your imagination, and you'll explore deeper reserves of heart and passion and creativity within yourself. You'll find a path to connect more deeply with your mind, body and soul. You will also be encouraged to make terrible successes and wonderful failures. Apparently, Carl Jung, in the early 20th century, psychotherapist, used to greet people with the question, so tell me, have you had any terrible successes or wonderful failures lately? Oh God, I think I could add to the wonderful failure list quite a lot. It goes on to tell you a little bit about mindfulness. And then, I wish you a fun and soulful creative practice. Let's begin. So week 1 is getting started. And the beginning is the most important part of the work, a quote by Plato. Look at that. I love that. And it's almost like, you know, we've got the beginning. It's like the shape of the egg of the fool, isn't it, on a fool's journey, you know. But this is the beginning. This is something different, a new path. Welcome to week 1. This week we're going to try to start by making sure you've got everything you need to begin painting. Once you're all set, we'll have some fun playing with all the possibilities that arise when you put brush to paper. We'll discover some of the beautiful things that can happen when colour meets water and when presence meets painting. So this is it. You know, I'm actually looking forward to getting stuck into this. Now, it tells you what you need, essentials and non-essentials. And then you start making marks on paper. So that's that. And you know, even putting marks on paper with different brushes, look how lovely it looks. So this book is a 10-week course, not only in watercolour painting, but in mindfulness too, and teaching us all how to just zen out. Because let's face it, we all need it now and again. Last but not least, I have one more book to share with you, and it's Tana French, The Witch Elm. And again, it's one that I've just got this last week, so it's on my reading pile. I have a reading pile that's like Everest. My husband's starting to go nuts because albeit I have my Kindle, I still love my books. So let's have a look. This is The Witch Elm. What do we hide inside ourselves? For me, it all goes back to that night. The dark, corroded hinge between before and after. The slipped-in sheet of trick glass that tints everything on one side in its own murky colours and leaves everything on the other luminous. The word unputdownable was coined for novels like this by John Boyne. Erin Kelly says, I drop everything for the new Tana French book. Feign illness, cancel plans and miss deadlines. and it's always worth it. And apparently this is one of her best novels yet. A dense hypnotic novel from one of the greatest fiction writers this century, I Am in Awe by A.J. Finn. And Kate Reardon says Tana French is one of those rare writers whose publication dates you put in your diary. Her effortless verve, insight and black wit still glimmers from every page. But what is it about? One night changes everything for Toby Hennessy. A brutal attack leaves him damaged and traumatised, unsure even of the person he used to be. He seeks refuge at his family's ancestral home, the Ivy House, filled with memories of wild strawberry summers and teenage parties with his cousins. But not long after Toby's arrival, a discovery is made. A skull, tucked neatly inside the old Witch Elm in the garden. As detectives begin to close in, Toby is forced to examine everything he thought he knew about his family, his past and himself. A spellbinding standalone from a literary writer who turns the crime genre inside out, The Witch Elm asks what we've become and what we're capable of, and if we no longer know who we are. So, peeps, that's the latest one, okay? Finish the one on the Kindle first, Elaine. Then I might have to read 2 books at once because I can't decide which one I'm going to read first. Scissor Sisters will be my dip into book when I'm having a break from my other books. So, folks, I just thought I'd share that with you from my sitting room floor. And just to let you know, there's some massive ravens on my bird stand outside. I put fresh food on it today. They're devils for fighting off the smaller birds. And so I went out and sat on the chair and tried to coax them away from the feeder with bread, because I don't want to shoo them off, because I don't mind them. I don't mind them coming back, but what I don't want is them frighten all the other little birds away. So I took some photographs and I'll attach them to the end of this so you can see how big the lad is that's sitting on the feeder. And do you know what the cheeky devils do? The minute the feeders are empty, they pick them up and they throw them on the floor, and they all leave the garden as if to say, right, Elaine, they need filling again and rehanging. That's what they're like. So, folks, it's Friday afternoon. I'm going to love you and leave you. Have a lovely weekend, and I look forward to hearing if you've got any books that you want to share with us, or anything that you've taken on that's new, any other hobbies. And as soon as I get down to the painting, I'll be doing some of that with you too. Take care, folks, and I'll see you soon. Bye now. As promised, here are some photos of the birds that visited the feeder today.